Hello,
Hey, how
Michael.
are
How are
you?
you? Good, thank
Good. It's
you.
good to be
I
with
was just
you.
going over the things that we will be discussing. I'm super, super
Oh, I'm
excited.
excited too. One of the great things that I love about my life is connecting with people all over the world. And so it's so fun. It's so fun. Everybody should have a taste of every culture in the world so that they can. I mean, it's such a great eclectic world filled with just awesome, awesome people everywhere. So I was happy that you reached out.
Thank you so much. I mean, I have to say, when I saw you agree to do a live with me, I was like, you just.
Oh, it's good. I checked out your content and you're doing awesome. You're producing great content. You're getting on video. You're like checking all the boxes in social media of what
Oh,
people should be doing. So I was happy to
oh, I'm
jump on
glad you
this with
think
you.
so. Oh, thank you. I'm really glad you
Oh,
think
you're
so.
doing good. You're doing good.
Yeah.
Keep going. Keep going. And
So
kudos to you. I've seen you've had it, like Jeremy Murrah was on your live and stuff. And, you're not afraid to ask people to jump on a live. So that's also good. It's good.
Yeah, just trying to get out of that sort of
Yeah.
box that we put ourselves in. Been on Instagram for a very long time and just sort of trying to get out there now,
Yeah. So good.
So I think,
Good for you.
thank you so much.
Good. Okay. So you're
I
in
was just going
Pakistan,
over like
right?
so many things.
You're in
Sorry?
Pakistan, right? Yeah.
Yes, I'm from
In
Pakistan.
what
Yeah,
city are you in?
I'm in Karachi.
Karachi. I went to Dubai last September, and like it seemed like half the people in Dubai are from Pakistan. Like all of my Uber drivers, the guy who drove me on my desert safari, he'd been living in Dubai for 10 years, but his whole family's back in Pakistan. He was where
Oh,
there was like
yes.
a ton of flooding. He was telling me about all the flooding in the southern part of Pakistan um, last
Yeah,
June.
I mean, there are like quite a few issues that happen here for sure. And people are trying to sort, because Dubai is only 2 hours away. So a lot of Pakistanis go
Yeah,
there for either like the ones who can go for vacations, they
yeah,
do vacations in Dubai, and those who need to work there, and like not be able to support their
yeah,
family over there, they leave their families and they go back.
yeah. Okay, here's what I loved about one of the guys from Dubai. I know this isn't the topic that we're talking about today, but I want to shout this out. I had this Uber driver pick me up at the resort I was staying in, and he was taking me down to the downtown. And while we're driving out of the resort, he's like stopping at every single person that was working in on the landscaping, on the gardening stuff, and they were all from Pakistan. And I don't think he even knew them. I think he just knew that they were from Pakistan. Anyway, he starts talking to them and was just so friendly to people who were strangers. It was like he was best friends with all of these people, but he was an Uber driver. I'm sure he's just all over the place. Anyway, so I loved that taste of your culture, and just I got to see the friendliness and the nobody is a
Yeah.
stranger kind of vibe that this person had. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that that exists with a lot of people from your country.
That does. That is one thing that we really, really appreciate here for
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, anyone who comes to Dubai that I know from US, I say it's 2 hours away and visit me, and I'll show you the
Yeah.
culture. Like, I'll take you to the roots of the
Yeah.
culture.
So good.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we talking about today?
Yes, I was just going over some of the things that I would love to discuss with you, and I was talking about how I want to talk about how you came to the $30 million agency,
Yeah.
right? And how you're working with big brands like Disney and Google, and what's your experience working with them, and how if it's even practical for freelancers to dream that big. So I'm just gonna go everything once so the people know if there's this particular thing they want to stick around for, and how freelancers in our audience can become agencies, and what's the practical
Yeah.
timeline for it, because a lot of us expect it to be very quick, and a tad bit about how I went from freelance to agency, because I'm a very small um, something that maybe people can relate
Yeah.
to. And where do we find high value clients, right? And if Instagram is the right platform for it, and also like you have international publishing, so if that really contributes towards the revenue that you generate, and just some golden nuggets from
Oh,
you
that's
in the
good.
end. And that's like sort of a summary of how I want to
Those are
take
all
this
good talking
forward.
points.
So,
I'm happy to divulge any morsel that I can to help other people. So let's do it. What's question one?
so it's just how what was your journey that led up to establishing this agency?
I was resistant at the start. It was I started during the .com bomb that happened in the early 2000s. And I was working at Fox Studios, which was a great place for me to build a lot of relationships. I was a creative director there. But in the .com bubble burst, people started downsizing their tech designers and programmers and things. So these big teams started downsizing, and our divisions got sold to Disney. And then we went through a year and a half of layoffs until there were 6 of us from our 50 something person team at the end, 6 of us on the last day. And I was panicking. I had my wife at home and 2 kids, and we had a Los Angeles cost of living. And so I was panicking, looking for jobs. And I was applying for jobs, but I never found a job. I just started getting freelance work because these people didn't have internal teams anymore and they needed to outsource to freelancers and agencies. So it worked out for me, but I was really resistant in the first few years. I didn't hire people for the first couple years. I should have. I was working 60 to 80-hour weeks. I was saying yes to all these great opportunities I was getting, but I didn't hire anybody. And it wasn't until I finally made the decision to stop resisting the growth that was happening at my business and to hire people that all of a sudden things started to take off. And I started doubling my billings each year. And my team went from me to 12 people in like, it took about a year and a half, maybe 2, to go from 1 person to 12. So it was super fast growth. But I think one of the lessons that I learned from that, and one of the things that I did wrong, was that I resisted it. I resisted growing because I was afraid to grow. And I think that that's something that people have to look at. I do a lot of coaching for creative entrepreneurs, and I see the same thing in so many people. And so I crunch their numbers with them and I say, you have plenty of revenue to hire somebody, so make the hire now. You can downsize your overhead as fast as you increase it, but most people aren't going to need to downsize it. Once they hire one person, they realize, oh my gosh, this is so great, and they want to hire another one and another one, and they stop resisting the growth. And I think a lot of freelancers are out there just as a one-person business, and they're afraid to take that next step to try and hire somebody and see what happens.
No, for sure, because this is something that I've gone through for years. I have freelanced and I've sold my own time,
Yeah.
right? And then you don't have the space or business, you don't have the space or time to grow your
Yeah.
business, to, go towards like increasing the value of your service and being able to connect with higher value clients. And only when you sort of let others do the work and take a step back and you actually focus on the business.
Yes. That's exactly what it is. One of my favorite books, I've talked about it a lot, is The E-Myth. And in The E-Myth, Michael Gerber, the author, talks about 3 roles in a business. There's the technician, the manager, and the entrepreneur. And a lot of people get stuck being the technician, where they're making the stuff of their business. But the real growth comes when you become an entrepreneur and your day exists to figure out, how am I going to grow and improve this business? Your job is the business, and you have people whose job it is to produce the work that the business produces. And there's a transition time that it doesn't happen overnight to go from that technician role to entrepreneur role. But if you have that vision, it can help you make the right decisions along the way to scale to an agency, if that's what you choose. And there's nothing wrong with people just staying as a solo freelancer. I have a lot of people like that, and kudos to them. They fly around the world and they work from Bali and wherever else they choose to go because they're a solo freelancer and they get that flexibility. So it's not cut out for everybody to choose growing an agency, but if it's something that you dream of, then go for it. Lots of less capable people than you have built successful agencies before.
100%. No, I would love to share my experience in this regard because I think coming from a very different background, I had different opportunities or non-opportunities, right? And I went from charging like $30 for a logo, or even embarrassingly $30 for social media management when like the very first social media
Yeah.
client for the month. And now like social media is like crazy, right? Because it's retention and it's big. I mean, and even logos are like I know it's very less for you, but like
Yeah.
1200 from 30 to 1200 is a
Yeah,
big
it's a big
jump that a
jump.
lot of freelancers just dream of, right? And that came in months, and that came in months because after years and years of just learning everything that like you share so much free knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Christo, Satori graphics, as far as design is concerned. I mean, these people, like, so once I think there's a point where um you realize, okay, you're putting in a lot of work and you can like double triple four times it with like the people you hire, because the amount of people you hire, they're working
Yeah.
in place of you,
Yeah.
right? But the reason people are scared to hire is because it costs a
Yeah.
lot to hire someone full time. What I did was, and I scaled in months, because what I did was I started hiring part time, like project
Yeah.
based only,
Yeah.
right? So even for social media, I would hire like per graphic because my business was so small. I didn't want to commit to someone for a
Yeah.
monthly fee
Yeah.
at all. So if they're making like 15 posts a month, I would pay them per post,
Mm-hmm.
And same for my copywriter, same for my social media manager. Everyone was part time. And with time, they and I grew together because then they were handling the work and I had the chance to like sort of get more clients and better clients and increase value of our business by doing a lot of coaching sessions online and then teaching them what I was
Yeah.
learning. That was sort of like a very, and so when you do hard part-time hiring, you can do this, you're less scared because it's only when you have a
Yeah.
project and you grow
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah, you don't need to go and hire six-figure salary employees as your first employees. It's great advice. And I did a similar thing. The very first person I hired was a kid from high school, and he would come over after high school and work in my basement with me, and I taught him how to do some production stuff that was really valuable, and he was really quick to pick it up and really good at it. But that was my first hire. It was like the cheapest possible person that I could find was who I hired first because I was afraid of the bigger numbers. But you get comfortable. You get comfortable over time. Like if you hire somebody and they cost you $12 an hour, now you get comfortable with the $12 an hour person. And then you go and you say, okay, the next person I'm going to hire, that's $20 an hour. And now I get comfortable with that. Then I'm comfortable hiring somebody at 30, 40, 50, 60, $100 an hour. And you start having these more expensive people on your team. And I did it that way. I just got a little more expensive each person that I hired, and so my growth was kind of slow in that sense. I felt like my agency grew fast, but since I've been coaching, I've seen a couple of people that that have grown so fast. It's mind boggling. I have one guy who I coach out of Atlanta, and he's so talented, and I mean, in 6 months he had a seven-figure agency and 23 employees, and I'm going to do an interview with him for my YouTube channel. But his growth was crazy, and he went right into six-figure employees right out of the gate. His people were really expensive, and that's a different way to go if you have the guts to do it.
For sure. I mean, so this brings me to the next very important question. Like, are freelancers even allowed to dream that big? And especially like, okay, so there are freelancers who are in US who are in that market, and then there are people who are in like my country where they would like people would go and give the printer like $2 and he's gonna make the business
Yeah,
card, design it and print it and give it to
yeah,
you. So we obviously try to find clients that value our services, value the time that we put in, right? So does do freelancers in US or outside, does it make a difference? First of all, right? I'm sure it does, but like, is it even practical for them to imagine getting that
You
big?
can dream as big as you want to dream. In 2023, I'm not kidding. I just had a YouTube video about this, why it's the greatest time ever to start freelancing, because you have the ability to connect with anyone, anywhere in the world and offer your services. Look at you and I. You're in Pakistan. I'm in the United States. I used to work at Fox, and I used to do work at Disney, and I've been to all the studio lots, and I have friends all over there. And you and I are now connected. You're one relationship away from being connected to all of these people that I know from past clients at Google and YouTube and Disney and down the list of people that I've worked with. So there's no limit anymore to how big you can dream. You literally can be in Pakistan or India or Indonesia or anywhere and do work for US based companies or European based companies. And the tolerance for outsourcing globally has gotten so big. I'll admit, like 15 years ago, when I was hiring and running my agency, we tried using some designers and things in India because it was kind of the new thing to experiment with offshore talent. And the work quality didn't live up to what we needed at that time. But man, things have changed in the last 15 years. There are so many talented people all over the world, and they get the benefit of having a lower cost of living. And so they can pass along a cost savings to clients in a higher cost of living area. And it makes it so competitive. And the work quality is not less. It there are so many talented people all over Asia and the Middle East, and it's been impressive to me. So many of them on Instagram here, especially.
No, 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 for sure, because it's thanks to creators like you now. Because the tolerance for people working outside has increased, but also the tolerance of the people who are in the industry then sharing their
Mm,
knowledge. This trend that Instagram started, the when I joined, when I discovered educational careers on Instagram, I was like, this is teaching me more than my
yeah,
degree.
yeah,
And I was like, stop the degree, do
yeah.
this.
It's so true.
Instagram.
Education has totally changed the last few years. Yeah,
So only when we have all these resources from you, from all of these, from Chris. I mean, that Chris was the
sure.
first person that I found online, right? And that's where it all started. And that knowledge, that sort of, and at first when you're just going through the free resources, you feel like, why would I ever pay for the paid courses? There's so much
Yeah,
that you know you're learning
yeah,
here. But when then you come to a point where all the free videos and carousels feel repetitive,
yeah,
and that's when you realize, okay, let's invest that $27 cost.
yeah.
Let's invest in
And
that,
see, usually the
and let's
stuff
invest
like
in
my
all of
content, the
those.
stuff that's behind a paywall is infinitely more valuable than the carousels and things. You've got to look at it like a real. So my freelancer course, for example, it's a 40-hour course. The amount of reels that I would have to produce 40 hours worth of content in reels format is crazy. So you're just dripping, and I struggle with that. Like I try not to. I try and over deliver value on everything that I'm doing. But how much is too much to share? I really don't believe there that you can have too much to share. I think share it all, and that's what I try and do. I share. The only thing I really keep behind a paywall are some of the worksheets and the more structured way to go through the methodologies that I share. So I share the snippets, but inside of the course, you get the structured learning flow and the worksheets and all the templates and things that I used at my agency. So I think that's a message for people watching this. Just start sharing the stuff. Start sharing everything that you know to benefit your target customer, and then see what happens.
No, for sure. I mean, it's when you start those coachings and those memberships and those courses. So you're randomly seeing all these carousels and reels, and they're very valuable. And you're applying one tip here, one tip there, and you're all over the place. And today you go like, oh my God, I have to follow this tip.
Yeah,
Oh, I have to follow
yeah,
this tip, right? And you're just bouncing here and there because I've been through that entire
yeah,
phase where I didn't want to invest any money into it,
yeah.
right? And then when you get that structured course, right? I got from one creator and then from
Sure.
another creator because I saw the value in it because then you can apply it step by
Yeah.
step according to how they
Yeah,
have
you
given
get it
it,
in
you
the
know.
logical order, the logical flow,
Yes,
instead of
yes,
pieces all over the place. Yeah,
for sure. I think that's the value for
yeah.
sure. And also, so this was like it. What's the right place to find the high value clients? Is it Instagram or is it more LinkedIn, or do you have to get more sophisticated than Instagram for that?
My advice is pick a channel and then go all in on that channel. People find
For sure.
clients on Instagram. They find great clients on Instagram. I just hired
Yeah, my
somebody. I
clientele is
hired somebody a
Instagram
couple weeks
only. Yeah.
ago. I don't know if she's on here right now. Sometimes she tunes into the lives, but I hired her. She's in the Philippines, and and it came through Instagram, and I became a great client for her business. And but it came through this connection and through my newsletter, my email newsletter, and her replying to some of my newsletters. That's how we built the original relationship that turned into this opportunity for her. But that came through my focus on this platform primarily. And but there are a lot of people that have great success on LinkedIn. So if you want to choose LinkedIn, I have a coaching student that I work with, and she's all in on LinkedIn. She does a little bit on Instagram, but LinkedIn is where she's built and nurtured her community, and that's where she finds clients through there. So just pick one. Pick one. It doesn't have to be this one. It doesn't have to be the same one that everybody else is using either. Pick a channel and go all in on that channel, and you'll be able to find clients. You don't need you don't need 4,000 clients to build a good business. You need 10. You need 10 clients, and you can have a great little freelance business going. So, are there 10 clients on LinkedIn? Yeah. You can find 10 clients on LinkedIn. Can you find 10 clients on Instagram? Totally. Can you find 10 clients on Dribble? Yep. You can find 10 clients on Dribble. You just have to be consistent and produce content and build awareness and reputation of your business during through that effort.
So something that you mentioned, not needing 400 clients, just needing like 10 clients, right? So this, I think, I just want to put in here. I watched your video with Chris on the pricing,
Yeah,
how to price your
yeah.
products. And I don't know the exact name of the video. If anyone watching right now wants it, just DM me. I'll dig out the link. But I mean, once I watched that video, I was just like, why haven't I watched this before?
Uh, yeah, that one's been up for a few years. It's been a bit.
I
Yeah.
know. I just came across it a few days back, and I was like, "Why haven't I seen this before?" This is like so straightforward as to how to go about everything, especially pricing your product. Because only when you can price your product right, you can scale
Yeah.
down for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, and your fans are all over the comments, just appreciating your
Oh, that's
freelance
good. I
stories.
love it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. And you know what? I love that people tune in. I look at the little marker up there. I still have like imposter syndrome sometimes. So I'm like, if I go live, is anybody
Oh
even going to
no!
watch? That's what I think
If
sometimes.
you have
So I'm
imposter
so
syndrome, where will
grateful.
you go?
I'm so grateful that people jump on these things. Thank you. It gives me a lot of confidence.
I mean, when you say imposter syndrome, I don't know where we would
I
come
know.
to. And someone literally just commented earlier that they love how honest you are in
Oh,
this.
good. I think you're seeing some comments that I'm not seeing. I'm seeing a lot of people join, but I don't think I'm seeing some of the comments coming in. But thank you everybody for showing up.
I think we have a question. Sharing design tutorials on LinkedIn, will it work? Will the target client care?
Um, yeah, I can't imagine that it's not going to work. Like
Yeah.
if they are, let's say that your target client is somebody who needs a website. You're targeting tech companies that need a website. Then make your design tutorial related to those types of clients. It might be something like how button color can influence purchase decisions on a website. And that's your design tutorial. You're going to talk about button color and some research about why red is the best action color for tech websites. And you deliver that kind of design tutorial, then it's going to resonate and add value to the potential client who you're trying to target. And it'll position you as an expert in their eyes. And then that will generate trust where they will be more comfortable buying from you through that trust. So that's the way to do design tutorials if you're targeting a client. And I can't imagine that LinkedIn, I mean, we just said you need 10 clients from LinkedIn. I'm sure that there are 10 people on LinkedIn that content is going to resonate with. You just got to be consistent enough
That
to
is
find
like
them.
different. Yeah, it's a different perspective to think from, and that's like so valuable to think that way. That you just obviously there are 10 people
Yeah,
there, right?
obviously. You don't need
And
4,000. You don't need a 100,000 person audience to be able to build a stream of clients coming into your business. You just need to pick a channel and be consistent on it and find the 10. I mean, if you have 10 people
no, and
who all
sometimes
pay you $800 a month in services, you have a six-figure business. 10 people,
sometimes even sorry.
sorry, it's just like it's so feasible. It's so feasible for people to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Something that okay, I've lost my train of
Oh,
thought.
it's
Never
all
mind.
good. Do we have another question from people?
Yeah. So the tutorial is not technical, but driving audience to believe that we're able.
Sorry, repeat
Oh,
the
I think
question
it's about
there.
the design
The
tutorial.
tutorials what?
I think it's about the design tutorial. I think that you discussed. So they're asking whether if it's not technical and we just have to show that we're able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it can be either way. I think, okay, my advice on content is experiment. Experiment with content. Run some that's technical. Do some that's technical, but technical like how do you change button colors in Figma? How do you change hover colors in Figma or some technical thing like that? That's going to cater to other designers. It's not that it won't be valuable content, but it won't resonate with a tech startup who you're trying to get as a client. They care that the button color increases conversion or adds sales to their bottom line. That's what they care about. So you have to understand your target customer and what are the problems that they face in their business and then create content against that. And it can be design related content. You just have to take a little different slant on it than just a Photoshop a technical tip in Photoshop, how to create the ultimate drop shadows in Photoshop. I mean, that's not going to resonate with a potential client. It may look good and it may position you as an expert at your craft, but it's not going to provide value to your end customer, to your target
I
customer.
think I think merging a way to merge the gap between these two things, if we're talking about the same example, would be if you're giving a design tutorial, but you're talking about how this color is going to increase your sales and how to go and set the color this way is this. So the people who are interested in how to, they get you that engagement that boosts your post to other people and increases your reach. And then when the person who cares about the sales and doesn't care about how to do it sees that post and sees so many people engaging with you, trusts your authority and says, okay, he's thinking about the psychology,
Yeah.
so let's try to get him
Yeah.
on. And that sort of, you get both the wells connected to boost your
I
growth.
like that too. Okay, I'm going to give you another little angle to look at this from. Even if you are just sharing design tips for designers and you build an audience of designers, let's say you build an audience of 10,000 followers and they're all designers, there's this tangential benefit to you in the eyes of clients, where a client who is doing research on you, oh, I need to hire somebody, and then they look at your Instagram and it's filled with design tips that they don't care about. They don't care about the design tips because they're all tech for designers, but they look at it and say, wow, Maham has 10,000 people following her on Instagram. She must know what she's talking about. And it builds trust. Even though those 10,000 people aren't one of them, it's just 10,000 other designers, it still builds your authority inside the eyes of potential clients. So there's value there as well. So I'm not saying don't share design tips, because if that's what you love, then share design tips and build an audience of 200,000 people. That's great. Do it. Because there is going to be a benefit in the eyes of clients in the way that they perceive you and your authority in the industry.
I love how we're throwing these ideas at each other, right? So that reminds me of what I was thinking about earlier, and sort of connects everything before I forget again. My the way I got into the U.S. clientele was finding one person on Instagram. So you know how we talk about finding
Yes.
10? It was just one guest post that got me a live interview, and that one live interview got me. So there was someone from UK who contacted me, and that interviewer himself, he had someone who needed social media, and he contacted me. Now that US social media client, he had two other businesses. That's two other partners.
So good.
So that's three US clients. Those clients have their own other
Yes.
businesses, right? Because I'm amazed, like people are handling three, four businesses at a time. So those guys have their own businesses, and then now all of a sudden you're working on six brands, you know? So that's how
Yeah.
I just got off IG for a year
Yeah.
because I was just trying to catch up,
I love that.
And
That is how it
that was at
grows for
1,800
so many
followers.
creatives. That's how it grows. You get one client, and that client spawns into two over the course of a year. You doubled your clients. Well, the next year you go from 2 to 4, and the next year you go from 4 to 8 if you just keep doubling the amount of people. There's a great quote by Jim Rohn that is, we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, something along those lines. And the thing I take away from that, and the thing I saw in my business, is that every client that is giving you work probably has 5 other people that they know that do a similar thing to them. Because if they're the average of the 5 people that they spend the most time with, then they probably know other entrepreneurs that run their own businesses. Most of my friends are entrepreneurs, most of my close friends, because that's what I've been doing for the last 20 something years. And so my relationships I've built have been these other entrepreneurs. Um, the same thing in Instagram. Like the people I spend so much time chatting with are a lot of these other people who have hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram, because we all built our communities at the same time and we all know each other. But some of those people are my closest friends now too. And so you just got to say, okay, you don't just assume that the one client is the only one you'll get out of that single relationship. Like you just gave the perfect example of how that one person can spawn into multiple. It's a patience game. Selling and growing your business is all about patience and waiting to find one client who becomes 2 or 3, and 3 clients who become 15. That's how my agency grew. It was still, even in the end, 15 years later, it was still primarily relationship driven sales. And we were doing millions of dollars of revenue every year.
I mean, it can be Instagram can be very emotional in a way because you put in so much effort and so much work, and then you're not getting those results. And this was a time when I was like giving up, and when I got that message for the interview, I was like, should I do it? Should I not do
Yeah.
it? And my husband was
Yeah.
like, no, go ahead, just get out there. It was my first live, and it was just game changing for my business. So I wanted to get this message out there that any that one carousel collaboration, that one live, it can change your
It
entire
can be.
business.
Okay, so there's the pressure. Everybody at the end of the day today thinking, I didn't post anything today. Should I post something? It's not going to make any difference. Now they're going to feel pressure because it could be that one post that becomes the person who just sees it at the right time to take action and become a client for you that spawns the next great era of your business. That is the way
Oh
it
my God,
is.
I'm
That is the
sorry
way
to
it is.
everyone who I just stressed out.
So funny.
All right. I think I've taken a lot of your time.
Uh,
I'm glad this has
it was
been
so fun.
very
I don't think
yes.
I think we talked about one of the things on the list, and then we went on some great tangents.
I think it did cover everything except one. If do you have
Yeah,
time for it?
let's do it.
So we have in our talks covered everything other than the international publishings that you have. How do they contribute to as your revenue? Is that something that people should aspire to do?
Um, it's a trickle of income, like book revenue. It's the only way to make a lot of money writing books is to have 15 books that you've written and that are out there. And then each of those books is making $1,000 a month. And yeah, now you have something. But outside of that, if you have a book or two like I do, I don't even calculate that revenue as part of my business revenue. It's just like the extra. Whatever my books sell is just the extra. But should you aspire to do it? Absolutely. Absolutely. If you feel I think everybody has a book in them. That's my belief. Everybody has a book in them. They have some unique perspective that will be valuable to share to other people. And I really believe that. And I think if you decide to write a book, don't expect it to make you a billionaire. But man, there's something so gratifying about having something tangible that you leave behind in your legacy of existing on this planet. And that's the thing that I love the most about the books that I've written. It's like when I die, one of my great great grandkids is going to find in a shoebox somewhere a book that I wrote, and they're going to be like, whoa, I didn't know that great 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 grandpa Mike wrote a book. Look at this. This is really cool. I love that legacy piece of what comes with writing a book. Now, so that's a piece that I love, and then I also benefit from the authority that it provides me from a brand standpoint. I've written a couple books. They've been published. They've been published internationally. That adds to my authority as I speak about the and teach about the things that I teach.
I mean, it's so funny that you're talking about writing the entire book and having it published and in hand, and that the feeling that it gave you, and it just made me remember of the first book cover that I did and published. It was just a cover, and I felt over the moon. Oh my God, it's in a
Right?
bookstore.
Isn't it so
So
cool?
I mean,
It is so cool.
writing the book is
It's so
like,
cool. I know. My book's in Russian, and when I went to Moscow, I went into my book was in every bookstore in Moscow I would just go in. I would be walking down the street, and I would go into a bookstore, and there was my book, and it was such an amazing feeling to see it out there in the world in some country I had never been to. It's really something fun. It's fun for us as designers. Even if you just design the cover, design the thing, and then you see it out in the real world, man, that's one of the greatest feelings.
it is
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, that covers my list.
Okay, well, this was super, super fun. Thank you for having me on. I loved chatting with you. I'm glad that we connected in on Instagram. What a great platform. Honestly, it's that we can connect to people all over the world. Now, admittedly, I'm mad at Instagram for some of the algorithm stuff and the fact that the search sucks and doesn't really exist and things like that. But man, what this ability to connect like this is just awesome. So I'm so grateful.
100%. And you being like huge, huge, huge. You know what I mean. I don't even have words for it. And creators like you, people in the business like you, opening up to smaller accounts or other countries and just talking to them, so candid, so sharing, so that is just amazing. I have
Oh,
to say
thank
that.
you.
Thank you
I
so
love to
much
do it.
for
I love to
agreeing to
do it.
be here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Maham. It was so fun, and we'll see you in the DMs, I'm sure, right?
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody,
Bye
for watching.
bye.
We'll see you. Bye.
Take care.